right, what is going on, everybody? How you doing? Welcome to another episode of Talking Buffalo, your weekday daily driver for Buffalo Sports Talk and more. My name is Patrick Moran. Thank you so much for watching, for listening, however you decide to consume Talking Buffalo. I appreciate you guys very, very much. Big shout out to both of our sponsors, Sunny Reds, 1841 Aber Road, just down the way from Highmark Stadium, and of course, Imperial Pizza with 2 locations, including my spot in the heart of South Buffalo at 1035 Aber Road. Love both those places. Make sure you get out and support them. They support this show, plus they are 2 of the very best places to go hang out, eat, drink, and just chill in all of, not just Buffalo, but all of Western New York. All right, folks, this is our Tuesday podcast, which after a Sunday game means this is my biggest Buffalo Bills takeaways from week 5 after spending a solid handful of hours here on Monday watching the All-22 film, looking for specific things, and there were a lot of things to look for. So we will go through some of my biggest takeaways today. The good, which there were some. The bad, which there were way too many of those. And the ugly, which unfortunately there were a handful of those. You add them all up, and the Buffalo Bills have their first loss of the season, a rare home loss. Sunday night primetime, another rarity, losing a primetime game at home to the New England Patriots, 23-20. The Buffalo Bills are now 4-1 on the season. We are just 5 weeks in, and there are literally no more undefeated teams in the NFL. That is pretty wild. A lot that I want to get to today, so I'm not going to jerk around here too much at the top. I will say one thing. I am recording this roughly around, let's look here, mid-afternoon-ish on Monday. I'm recording this before Sean McDermott speaks to the media, which generally I hate doing because there's updates that I'm probably going to miss on this show. However, the way my schedule works out today, this was the only window that I got to record this podcast. So I have to speak before Sean does, so I don't have any injury updates that will be discussed on this show. Matt Milano left and did not play in the second half. Re-aggravated his pec injury. I don't know if we'll get anything from Sean McDermott on Monday. I'll certainly hit on that and much more tomorrow on the show because I'll be joined by Matt Warren from SB Nation, and we do our weekly Buffalo Bills positional analysis and grades for the week. Before we start to take a look at the next opponent, which in this case, another primetime game, this time on Monday Night Football at Atlanta against the 2-2 Falcons. So, no Sean McDermott update to discuss here today. And I want to ask you a question here at the beginning. This is for all you, whether you're watching the show, whether you're listening, and I invite you to leave a comment. I mean, I always like when you leave comments on the show, whether you're tweeting at me, whether you're leaving them on YouTube. I always appreciate the banter and the interaction. But in this case, I got an honest question for you. And it's not necessarily specific to this football game and takeaways from this specific game, which, of course, we're going to get into here in just a minute. It's kind of a general question for you right now. The Buffalo Bills are 4-1. They're at least tied for the best record in the conference right now. My question for you is this. Do you feel right now, today, as things stand, that the Buffalo Bills are a true, legitimate Super Bowl caliber team right now? Right now. And again, they're 4-1. I get that. And there's a lot to like. I mean, the offense struggled, and we're going to talk about that today against New England, but this is still one of the most potent offenses in the NFL. And there's talent on the defense as well. Do you feel this is a Super Bowl caliber team right now? Because you can look at it as, hey, the Buffalo Bills are 4-1. The Buffalo Bills have the reigning MVP who minus this game, has played like somebody who's trying to win a second consecutive MVP, and the offense has been borderline unstoppable for at least most of the season. You are more than welcome to take that approach, and I don't think you're going to be wrong. I don't know that there's a right or wrong answer. I want to know what you think. So you can look at it from that way, or you can look at it as, okay, sure, the Bills are 4-1, but you know what? They were an Ed Oliver borderline miracle play on Derrick Henry, where the Bills come back from 15 down in the fourth quarter against the Baltimore Ravens to stun them on the last play of the game. Then they go to New York or New Jersey and they smack a hapless, really shitty Jets team that still hasn't won a football game this year. So not going to put much stock into that, but there was no scare. The Bills went out and did what they were supposed to do. They dominated a team that they were significantly better than. Then you come and you play on Thursday Night Football against Miami, and that was not a pretty game. That game was there for Miami to win near the end. Tua threw the kind of interception that he does way too often. Terrell Bernard steps in on a Deion Walker pressure, and if it's not for that play, who knows? Miami, maybe they win that game. And then you even go to the next week. They're playing the Saints, who just won their first game against the Giants last weekend. And you go back and you watch, and that game came down to a couple of plays. It was execution on a couple plays. The Bills executed a couple plays. The New Orleans Saints, they didn't. That was the real only difference in that football game. Spencer Rattler had a wide open Brandon Cooks for a touchdown after he split the safeties. And if it's even an average throw from Rattler, who knows? I'm not saying the Saints would have won the football game, but what I am telling you is with about 7.5 minutes left, the Saints are winning in the fourth quarter, and who knows what goes on from there. So, again, close calls against Miami, close calls against the Saints, two teams that are not good this year. They beat a winless Jets team, and listen, they beat Baltimore. I mean, it was a great comeback, and it was a great play from Ed Oliver. It's not like it was a lucky fluke play, but it was a borderline miracle comeback against the Baltimore Ravens. And then the Bills go out and they played a pretty bad football game here on Sunday night. They're 4-1 right now. So do you think this is a Super Bowl caliber team? I want to know your thoughts. In terms of this game itself, I have three glaring takeaways that I need to preface have very little to do with watching the All-22. Like, there's no need to even watch the game film. If you watch the football game on Sunday night, wherever you watched it, whether it was in the stadium or at home or at a bar or wherever, or watch party, you saw it with your own eyes. I'm not really telling you anything I don't know here, but they're the three most significant parts of this football game and why the Buffalo Bills are no longer undefeated. Number one, 3 turnovers. I mean, come on. 3 turnovers, including the interception in the red zone. That is first and foremost why the Buffalo Bills lost this football game. There's lots of things we can and will get into that help contribute to it. But in terms of the biggest reason why they lost this football game, you got to start with the 3 turnovers. That's just something the Buffalo Bills do not do. I'm being lazy right now. I don't know the last time. I didn't look it up before I went on the air. I don't know the last time the Bills lost a turnover battle by 2 and won a game. It's been a while. It's been a hot minute, that's for sure. So those turnovers, they were big. They were big. The Dawson Knox, and boy, oh boy, man, that's going to be a hot topic discussion all week, the Dawson Knox end around. It's an awful call by Joe Brady. It's 1st and 10. It's not a good call. That said, execute the play. Like, the expectation should be that Dawson Knox is not going to go around the end for a 25-yard gain. But I also expect a clean handoff and execution of the play, where whether it gets 2 yards, 4 yards, whatever it may be on first down, I don't think it's unrealistic to expect the play to be executed without turning the football over. That was a bad call, and it was bad execution and a bad turnover. Keon Coleman catches a short pass inside his own 10-yard line. fumbles and loses it. That cost the Bills 3 points in a one-score game. So that was just an inexcusable mistake from the young receiver, Keon Coleman. And then the interception by Josh Allen, which we'll talk about, which, by the way, stick around because I will get to it. One of my biggest takeaways that I didn't realize at the time until I went back and watched the game was Josh Allen's game was littered with some bad decisions. Josh Allen deserves his very fair share of blame for this first Bills loss this season. And we'll get into more stuff about him specifically. But among those 3 turnovers, the interception. There's 2:58 left in the third quarter. The Bills are down 13-10 at the time. They're down a field goal. They're in the red zone. And on a 2nd and 13, Josh Allen just throws a bad interception. There's just no other way around it. So you add it all up, that's 3 turnovers right there. Difference in this football game. Another big factor were the penalties. And look, man, I was on social media. I know the referee crew, Sean Holicky, whatever the hell his name is. Well, he sucked. Okay, but I don't know. I want to make sure I say this right because I hate when people blame the referees. But there were some really bad calls in this game. Although it did kind of even out towards Buffalo's favor in the second half. But the Bills in the first half, 8 accepted penalties, and they had 11 in this football game. That's a big reason why, especially in the first half, the Bills could not get into any flow. They could not get anything going offensively because of that first half. 8 accepted penalties. And not 1, not 2, but 3 offensive holding calls on first down on drives in the first half alone. 3 times holding on first down. Twice they were already pinned deep. They got half the distance to the goal. It became 1st and 17. It was 1st and 17. There was another one where it was 1st and 20. You can't do that. You can't get behind the sticks like that. That doesn't allow you to run the offense that you want to run. So turnovers were the biggest thing. Penalties were a pretty close second. And then last and certainly not least, look, you saw what I saw. Stefon Diggs absolutely cooked the Buffalo Bills defense. And I mean, he cooked them. 10 catches for 146 yards, and a handful of them were unbelievably great catches by Stefon Diggs. Toe dragging near the sidelines, catching the ball while he's falling to the ground, positioning his body perfect. It's, by the way, I mean, it's remarkable that he's come back from that ACL. Now, this is back-to-back games where he's had over 100 yards. Stefon Diggs is emerging as that alpha number 1 wide receiver again. You know, he was kind of second or maybe even third fiddle last year in Houston before the ACL. You had Nico Collins. He goes into New England, and it's like, all right, well, you know, they're taking a risk here. What kind of Stefon Diggs is Drake May going to be getting? Well, the answer is a Stefon Diggs who's looked a lot like the 2021-2022 Buffalo Bills version of Stefon Diggs. Again, 10 catches for $146, 14.6 yards per catch, 61 yards after the catch. Per ESPN Next Generation Stats, Stefon Diggs generated 82 receiving yards over expected and posted a 54.5 target rate, both his highest marks in a game since at least 2016. He was particularly effective on outbreaking routes where he secured all 6 of his targets for 91 yards. So Stefon Diggs just dominated the Buffalo Bills secondary. And it wasn't just Tre White. It was Christian Benford as well. It was getting between the safeties, finding the crease where the linebackers were. Just absolute brilliance between Josh McDaniel, the offensive coordinator for the Patriots, finding ways to get him involved in the game, the route running, the creativity to get him the football. And that was just a motivated dude, man. You know he wanted that football game. And good for him, by the way. I'm not going to hate on him. Good for him. Good for him. So there's your big 3 things without looking at the tape. When you watch the tape, I think there's 2 things that are revealed for me that I find extremely problematic. The first one is, look, we all saw Tre White out there, okay? And it kind of felt imminent. Like, it was imminent. What we saw on Sunday night felt imminent for quite a while. In some ways, maybe even going back towards the end of training camp in the preseason. And he didn't play week 1 because he was injured. It just felt like it was a matter of time before Tre White got exposed out there. Teams have been having so much success running on the Buffalo Bills this year that they haven't really thrown a lot. Like, the Bills came into this game either first or second in pass defense. It's not because they've had a shutdown secondary by any means. It's more because teams are just running the football on them a lot, so they're not throwing as much. Plus, they played a couple pretty shitty quarterbacks. They played Justin Fields. They played Spencer Rattler. They played, I'll say a less than elite Tua. So it's not like they've had, a bunch of tough tests. So sooner or later, you knew this was coming. Kind of started last week a little bit with the Saints, where Dorian Strong got a couple series in place of Tre White. And, Sean McDermott, after the game at the time, said that he wanted to get Strong more valuable reps. He's a young guy. It was important, and that was pre-planned before the game. That might be true. I don't buy it. I think Tre White got benched a little bit here and there, a little bit of a wake-up call, a message sent to him. Anyway, didn't resonate. Dorian Strong goes on IR. Of course, Max Searston already has been on IR. So this is Tre White's show right now. And New England went after him more than enough, and we got the results that at least I think some people expected, and that's not good. The Bills have a Tre White problem. That's my long-winded way of saying what I'm trying to say. However, that is also just the low-hanging fruit. Like, in a couple minutes, we're going to get to the offense, which is the bigger reason why the Bills lost this game, by the way. Let's just put that out there right now. But it's just easy to always blame Joe Brady for every single little thing. That's just taking the easy way out. The reality is Josh Allen, and I'll point out a couple things to you, he deserves a lot of blame as well. While Tre White on the defensive side in the secondary, he's the low-hanging fruit. It's easy to just say, well, Tre White sucks and this and that and the other thing. Sure. But here's the thing. The Buffalo Bills got a secondary problem right now. They don't have just a Tre White problem. They got a secondary problem. Tre White was bad. No doubt about it. But again, that's kind of like low-hanging fruit to me. I'll tell you this, watching the film, last week, the film taught me, and he got hurt, unfortunately, so he didn't have a chance to atone this week, but Dorian Williams, I thought he was the worst player on the field for the Buffalo Bills against the Saints last week, once I watched the film. Once I watched the film from this Patriots game, I think Taylor Rapp was the worst player on the Buffalo Bills in this football game. Taylor Rapp is as bad, if not worse, to Tre White, as far as I'm concerned. You're seeing plays on film. He's back there 40, 50 yards. No bad awareness, too. No instincts, no jump on the football. He's not fast and athletic enough to make up for that either. Oh, and one other thing. He whiffs on tackles a lot. We saw that last week on that Miller touchdown. He was one of 3 guys who just absolutely whiffed on a tackle. There were a couple plays on film, and I get it. His primary job, which, by the way, it seems a little confusing to me. Cole Bishop's playing a lot more up in the box area where the linebackers are and stuff, and it's been Taylor Rapp who's been the deep safety. That kind of feels a little bit backwards to me, but I digress. Anyway, he's back there. There's one play specifically where there's only 2 guys that are even remotely deep, and one of them is all the way on the other side of the field, and Bishop's already there. But he's still drifting backwards, like he's drifting back just to drift back. There was nowhere else to drift. He drifts back anymore. He's in the freaking tunnel. And talk about that play where Stephon Diggs and Drake May, who, by the way, holy shit, dude, that was some Josh Allen, early Josh Allen shit in that football game. Hats off to him. Tip your cap. But anyway, Tre White gets spun around inside out. He gets cooked on it. And again, everyone's pissed off at Tre. Look, it's hard for a cornerback to cover any receiver for 6-7 seconds, okay? Let alone one as good as Stephon Diggs. So Stephon gets behind him. And again, if you watch it from the full view, sideline view on the All-22, Taylor Rapp may as well just been in the tunnel. Seriously, he has no business being as far back as he was. He comes up, he misses the play by this much. And I'm telling you, it's because he's slow and his awareness wasn't there and he was late reacting. I could count 3 or 4 plays at least in that football game where Taylor Rapp, it's like, how do you not get up on the ball? How do you not make a play? It's just, there was a point in this football game where I was clamoring for, and I never thought I would do this, for Damar Hamlin to get out there. Like, bench Taylor Rapp and put Damar Hamlin out there. That is how bad I thought Taylor Rapp was. Now, Cole Bishop, much more physical. Maybe physical. Rangy for sure. Athletic. But he's mistake prone. He had a couple mistakes in his game as well, you see on tape, including a bad missed tackle. I'll tell you this. So they're playing Atlanta this week. And I'm going to beat the drum. I'm probably going to annoy you and piss you off, but I've been doing it since April. I don't try to pretend like I scout a bunch of football players, prospects every year. But you know this. If you follow the show, I'm a big Notre Dame fan. I watch all the Notre Dame games. And I was pounding, and I mean pounding the table for safety Xavier Watts during draft season. And the Bills passed up on him in round 2 for TJ Sanders, and they pass up on him in round 3 for Landon Jackson. And Xavier Watts right now today, as a rookie who's been in the league for a month, I'm telling you, is way better than any Bills safety. The Bills could have and should have had them. But Brandon Beane had almost an arrogant amount of confidence in the safety room. And they're paying for that because they're not good. They're not good. Bishop is young and mistake prone, and Taylor Rapp is just not it. He's as bad to the safety room as Tre White is to the cornerback room. And I'll tell you what, Taron Johnson too, man. I don't know what's up with him. He's gotten very pedestrian, it seems, this season. I mean, we're 5 weeks in. I invite you right now, if you're listening to this show, name me 2 plays, meaningful plays that Taron Johnson has made this season. 5 weeks in. I think you might struggle to come up with that. I'm not saying he sucks. I'm not saying he's a scrub. I'm not saying he should be benched. I'm not saying cut him. But by his former All-Pro standards, this has been a very mediocre first third of the season for Taron Johnson. And then last but not least, I'd be remiss if I didn't at least throw Christian Benford's name in there. I think by his standards, Christian Benford has looked just okay. That's it. He's looked okay. He hasn't really made any plays. A couple pass breakups, a couple nice stops and run support. Again, he ain't no scrub by any means, but by his standards, he's just been okay. That's it, man. I think Christian Benford's a great zone guy. I think he's good in run support, really good in run support. But man-to-man don't seem to be his strength. And I feel like he's getting exposed a little bit. So, yeah, the Bills have a problem in the secondary. This is not just a Tre White problem. Saying Tre White is the issue and just bench him and thinking everything would be okay. I don't care who the other corner is. I think that's a little bit of a lazy take because they got a safety problem. I don't think Benford and Johnson are problems. I'd like to see them play better, but they got a safety problem just as much as they got a Tre White problem. All right, I want to take a quick break, come back, because like I said, we can't just blame the defense. In fact, you shouldn't be blaming the defense. The defense, for the most part, played well enough for the Bills to be able to win this football game. A couple things on the other side of the football that I want to talk about as well right after this quick break. All right, we are back here. Biggest Buffalo Bills takeaway from week 5. Talked about the defense, the secondary, the problem. Other side of the football, you see it on tape, and I suspected this. I'm not surprised, but these receivers just don't get open. They really don't. This is not nothing new. This is just something that, again, you watch the film, you're like, God damn, man, where the hell? When you watch the Patriots on offense, and again, this is the freaking Patriots, man. This ain't the Chiefs. This ain't the Eagles. And it seems like there were open receivers or targets on almost every play. there had to be 8 to 12 Bills passing plays where there's just nobody open. And they resulted in Josh scrambles or an incomplete pass. One or two times, Josh just threw a perfect football in the tight coverage because that's what he could do. But the separation, the receivers getting open is just not there. Josh Allen had 3.27 seconds per ESPN average time to throw this football in this game. That's the longest amount of time he's had to throw all that season, all this entire season, but it didn't matter. And I could take a bunch of photos, and I did tweet out a couple of videos on my Twitter. Make sure you go and check that out. But I could have taken an art gallery of still shots where you look at a Bills wide receiver and you got a New England guy within a yard or two of them. They were just covered all over the place, one-on-one. Keon Coleman had less than 2 yards average separation. Josh Palmer, who's supposed to be a really strong separator, part of the reason why he got a nice, handsome contract this offseason, 2 yards, under 2 yards, 1.94. They're more than a full yard off the league average. And they just can't find ways to get these guys involved enough. Especially considering some of these guys, what they're getting paid. Curtis Samuel, he had a touchdown, 2 targets, 2 catches, 26 yards. Could have had more. We'll get to that in a second. Josh Palmer, 2 catches for 36 yards, including 13 on the last play of the game. I don't know what the hell he was thinking, even catching that football falling down. He should have let it go. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Anyway, 2 for 26, 2 for 36. It's like, all right, well, fine. That's fine. You're your third, fourth receiving option on the team. Okay, not a big deal, not a big problem. That'd be fine. But the problem is, these guys that I just mentioned, Samuel and Palmer, they're 2 of the top 40 paid wide receivers in the NFL. That's not good. That is bad asset management from Brandon Beane right now. And again, we're almost a third of through this season. So it's not even like a little tiny sample size anymore. Like I keep saying, well, Josh Palmer's going to bust out. Josh Palmer's going to bust out. We'll win. We're 5 weeks in and it hasn't happened yet. So, man, it's just Elijah Moore, $2.5, $3 million, didn't even play. He was in a healthy scratch for this game. I just feel like the kind of production you're getting from those guys would be fine if their salaries were $2 to $3 million. But they're not. They're $8 to $10 million. And these are guys who week after week are catching 1 or 2 balls for 30 to 40 yards. It's just not good enough. They're not open. So you got those sort of 2 issues to me right now. They're like the secondary's just not good. The wide receivers just don't consistently get open. The problem is, what can you really do about the secondary and the wide receiver issues? I feel like Tre White was on his way to imminently getting benched before the neck injury to Dorian Strong, which really sucks now. I mean, it would have sucked anyway, but it really sucks now. I absolutely feel if Dorian Strong didn't get hurt, there would have been a point in this game on Sunday night where he's on the field and Tre White gets benched. I have no doubt about it. But now Dorian Strong, who's already on IR with a neck injury, and he was put on IR quickly, so that tells me, man, that might be a while. Neck injuries ain't nothing to play with. So he's already on IR. Who the hell knows when and if he's back? Max Hairston, when does he get back? Does Sean McDermott trust him enough to put I know he's a first rounder, but a rookie who barely got halfway through training camp, let alone not a sniff of the preseason or regular season game? You're just going to throw him out there ahead of a healthy Tre White? I don't know that Sean McDermott's got the gonads to do that. And then you look at the safety room. I think Sean McDermott is married to Rapp and Bishop, certainly to Taylor Rapp. And even if he wasn't, like, is DeMar Hamlin going to be any better there? It's not a position of strength for the Buffalo Bills. It's just not. Brandon Beane certainly should trade for a cornerback. Tre White is just not it. He's just not. So will they do that? I feel like they have to. I just don't think, and I even understand it a little bit. with a rookie that I don't think you could trust. And coming off a knee injury where a guy is, was a speed guy. The reason why he was drafted in the first round ahead of some of these other corner prospects was his speed. You throw him out there in week 10, week 11, and you start getting into pivotal games. I don't know. So I do think if the Bills make a move, it's got to be a corner. And I don't think it's going to be a wide receiver. I know buzz is building on Twitter and social media about trading for a receiver. I think you're looking too much into a bad game. I think it would be a good idea. I just don't think it's going to happen. The Bills already have strong investments in the back end of the wide receiver room in Curtis Samuel and Josh Palmer and Elijah Moore. So I don't think there's anybody coming to the Buffalo Bills in terms of receiver. I think it's up to Joe Brady to start dialing up more creative shit to get some of these guys open. And look, I expect it to be an anomaly. Hopefully it's an anomaly. But another major takeaway from this football game was Josh Allen did not play that well. Statistically, he was fine. And he made some good plays like he always does. I mean, he's the reigning MVP for a reason, right? So I'm not going to say he was terrible, but the standard that an MVP should be held to in a home game in prime time, I don't think Josh Allen played very well. In fact, I would go as far to say that this might have been Josh Allen's worst game since the Houston game on the road last year, where he was erratic and a little greedy and a little helter-skelter, some bad or questionable decisions. I kind of feel like that was very on par with what we saw Sunday night. The difference was last year in Houston, they were down Khalil Shakir. They were down weapons, and Matt Collins was their, but they didn't have Amari Cooper yet. Matt Collins was their number one receiver. Bills didn't have any excuses on offense. He had his full arsenal of weapons. I just don't think he played well. I think there was just too many mistakes, and it's easy to blame Joe Brady for every single thing. But some of the shit's on Josh Allen. It just is. You look at that first scoring drive. I'll give you a couple examples. Very first Bills scoring drive of the day. It's 3rd and 3. They're inside the 10. Allen runs a read option. Ty Johnson comes in motion from the left, and Josh Allen's got the option to either give it to Ty Johnson going right or take it himself up the middle. You watch it back on the film, and it's easy to be an armchair quarterback now, but you know what? That's what you watch film for, right? Josh Allen made the wrong decision. Josh Allen kept the ball, and he got stuffed. If he would have gave it to Ty Johnson, you see it on film, minimum, it's a first down. All likeliness, that's a touchdown. That's not Joe Brady's fault. Joe Brady didn't make Josh Allen not give the ball to Ty Johnson. Josh Allen decided to keep it himself. That's on Josh Allen. 2nd and 3. It's the third quarter. This is when the Bills were in the red zone, the play before the interception. Khalil Shakir gets called for offensive pass interference, which, by the way, when you go back and you evaluate, because I know a lot of people want to kill the officiating crew again, it was the right call. A little ticky-tacky. I mean, you probably get away with it more times than you don't, but by rule, by definition, Khalil Shakir did commit offensive pass interference. But that's not my point here. On the play, the design, clearly, when you watch the film, the way the left side of the offensive line was blocking, this was another option play where Josh Allen could either, so James Cook swings in motion from the left to the right just before the snap, and then he goes left. Josh Allen had the option to either hand the ball to James Cook to the left or tuck it in and sling a quick screen pass to Dalton Kincaid. He chose the latter. And again, Khalil Shakir got off, and it didn't work. And even if he didn't commit offensive pass interference, maybe it was Dawson Knox. No, it was Kincaid. It don't matter. Anyway, it would have went for 1 yard at the most. It would have been 3rd and short. Instead, now it's 3rd and 13, and Josh Allen throws that interception on the very next play. My point is all this, though. You look at the film, he gives that ball to James Cook. James Cook's got a first down 100%. It's a new set of downs. He's definitely getting 3 yards there on that play. It was the wrong read, again, by Josh Allen to not give it to James Cook. Then, 3rd and 10, 2:31 left in the game. 4th quarter, the Bills are down 3 right now, and it's 3rd down. And he leaves the pocket too early, and you can see it again on film. There was not pressure. He did not need to be flushed from the pocket. Curtis Samuel was breaking free of the seam in the middle left part of the field, where if Josh Allen is locked on that and throws it early enough with the arm straight that he has, he gets that ball there before the safety does. Before the safety gets there. There was a safety that was drifting, but he was up. I can't remember who the player was on the other side of the football field. Maybe Palmer. Doesn't matter. But anyway, my point was Josh Allen missed what could have been. He missed a lot of reads in the passing game, but this was one of them. He leaves the pocket, so Samuel's out of play. And then he does see Shakir coming across the middle, but he kind of pump fakes it a little bit, just clutches it just enough for Christian Gonzalez to get back in and make what was a really nice play. Whole point is this. If he looks at Samuel and stays in the pocket, I think it's a touchdown. Also, if he takes off to the right and he commits to running, I can't say for sure he gets to 10 yards, but he's got to be the guy to get to the chain. Maybe he does. Even if he doesn't, it's 4th down and short, and then maybe you got a decision there. But it was just a bad decision all the way around. And like I said, he hits Khalil Shakir split second late. He sees that a split second late. I just felt like he played out of control this game, and that was an example. I don't think in this case he needed to leave the pocket as quickly as he did. So add it all up, plus, like I said, the interception, plus not the best handoff to Dawson Knox, and a few other things too out there here and there, small and minor, but you add it all up, and it just was not a great football game for Josh Allen, just straight up. And the other side too, after watching, I think the Bills were outcoached completely in this football game. I really do. You know, I'm not absolving. It sounds like I've been absolving Joe Brady for blame this whole episode. I'm not. I'm just saying don't blame everything on him. But in some instances, in cases, Sean McDermott indirectly said that he thought the Bills were being too cute, and he's right. They were. Like, that Knox call to me was just dumb. There's so many more things that could go wrong than right. If you're going to call that play, have Samuel go on and end around. Or hell, even Dalton Kincaid, who's more athletic than Dawson freaking Knox. So that was a dumb call. In the running game, the Patriots were bottling up James Cook. I would have liked to have seen a couple pitch plays. You know, get him outside. Give him a couple opportunities to do some work outside. It just was very basic, the Bills running game, and easy to defend. So that bothered me about Joe Brady. Ray Davis got a couple reps, and I'm sorry. I like Ray Davis. He's a great story, great human being, and he did some good things last year, but he is not built off that whatsoever. A Ray Davis rep right now is just becoming a wasted down, and we saw 2 of them in this football game. And this also felt like a night where Ty Johnson could have done some good things. I know he had a nice run, got called back by a penalty. I feel like he should have been more involved in this offense. In fact, I'm at a point right now where give James Cook 60 to 65% of the reps and give all the rest to Ty Johnson. I don't need to see Ray Davis on the field right now. Hell, Ray Davis could even be a healthy inactive at this point, as far as I'm concerned. So it was not a good day for Joe Brady. I just want to make sure that other guys, like receivers not getting open and Josh Allen making some, bad decisions with the football in his hands, that gets brought to light too. And that's not all just Joe Brady. But Joe Brady, not a good day. I thought Bobby Babbage has way too much respect for the Patriots receivers and Drake May, these safeties. I can't tell you, especially Taylor Rapp, how freaking far down the field they were playing on reps where there was nobody within 20 yards, especially Taylor Rapp. I'm getting annoyed 24 hours almost later thinking about it while I'm speaking here. So there's that. Drake May was killing the Bills. Collinsworth pointed this out on the broadcast. Every time he was rolling out to the right, he was killing them. Like, shouldn't you rush guys from the other side and make it so that he can't get out to the right? Make him have to get out to the left? Defend him that way? Like, where were the calls for that? So, I don't know, man. And then the last drive, too. So it's 1st down, final drive, 1st and 10, and you're in a zone where Shaq Thompson is responsible out there for Stephon Diggs. Again, a chess match where Josh McDaniel just had the better chess pieces and he was just outmaneuvering them. He finds a way to get a matchup where it's Stephon Diggs with Shaq Thompson having to guard him. Now, if Taquan Jones brings down Drake May, it doesn't matter. Which, by the way, that was a singular play the game. And I'm not even going to hate on DeQuan Jones. I don't think he did anything wrong. Drake May just did an unbelievable job of A, not only not taking the sack, but B, somehow completing that pass. But my point is, what the hell is Shaq Thompson doing in a zone with Stephon Diggs? There should have been a point with Bobby Babich where he says, you know what? If we give up points or we lose this game, we're going to lose. But you know what's not going to happen? Stephon Diggs is not going to beat us anymore. I am making a full commitment to Stephon Diggs not beating us anymore. Instead of playing my safeties freaking 75 yards down the field, I am going to put a safety on every single play on Stephon Diggs, and I am going to double him every single freaking play. And they didn't. And they paid for it. So not a good day for Bobby Babich. And as for Sean McDermott, look, when your team comes out as flat and sloppy as the Bills in this football game, snoozing through the first half, which is what they did, that's on the head coach too. They were not ready to play in this football game. They just weren't. Now, does Sean McDermott have too much ego or too much pride to do some different things? He's a lot smarter than I'll ever be. And he's a lot smarter, as much as I hate to admit it sometimes, than any of us, who watch film are going to be. Does he got the balls, I guess is the only way to say it, to make some changes right now? Like, I would love to see Jordan Hancock get a look at safety over Taylor Rapp. At the very least, Damar Hamlin. I mean, I'm being unrealistic now with Jordan Hancock. He's not going to go another younger guy, but they got to do something with that safety room. You can't just keep going out there with Rapp and Bishop. Well, you can, but don't expect different results, because what you saw is what you're going to see a lot of. So they do that. Again, when Max Harrison is physically cleared, does he get into the lineup, or do they continue to go with Tre White? When Ed Oliver's back, and hopefully soon, is Deion Walker going to be on the field more than DeQuan Jones? Just things about the personnel that I'm looking forward to seeing how Sean handles. Real quick, because we're about to get out of here. In terms of bright spots, Dalton Kincaid was great. Six targets, 6 catches, 108 yards. He's on pace for 976 yards this season. His 287 receiving yards right now is currently second in the NFL among all tight ends. Only Tyler Warren, the rookie from Indy, has got more receiving yards. So it was a great game for Dalton Kincaid. I thought it was a great game for Greg Rizzo. Blasted him plenty of times over the past week or so. A hot topic on social media, too. He responded. Great game. He had a sack, he had 2 tackles for a loss in the first half, 3 pressures, 6 tackles, 6 run stops. I thought he was excellent. And I thought A.J. Epinesa was pretty damn good, too. He had a half a sack, 4 quarterback pressures. He's actually played pretty well this season. I got to give him that. In terms of just quick hits, I don't know what's up with Matt Milano. Again, it's tough to speak. I would expect on Monday, maybe I could be proven wrong. I hope I am, but I expect nothing more than, to say that they're still evaluating. So hopefully you don't miss something. But anyway, I don't know what's up with him, but the fact that he didn't play in the second half of a close game with a pec issue again, probably not good news. Zion Logue, Fedarian Mathis were both up from the practice squad defensive tackle. And let's just say this, they looked like it. They looked like practice squad guys who were up. And Dan Walker, I mentioned him earlier. He flashes. He's fun to watch. I think he's going to be a really good one. I think he might end up being one of the steals of this draft. But the consistency is not there yet. Like, this team needs Ed Oliver back so bad. To put a wrap on this here, I will say this. Paralysis by analysis, it's easy to do it that way. Again, the Bills lost this football game. The Bills are not undefeated anymore because they turned the ball over 3 times, because they committed too many bad penalties in the first half where they only put up 3 points on the board, and they could not cover Stephon Diggs throughout this football game. That's it. Everything else, we're just overanalyzing and micromanaging a bunch of things. Where I arrive after this game and the film and all this shit is the offense just wasn't good enough and the secondary played bad. But there's a difference. I ain't really concerned about the offense. I just think this was a bad night, a bump in the road. It happens to every offense in the league at some point, right? Again, couldn't run the football, 3 turnovers, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not worried about the offense. I am very concerned about the secondary. Like, I think the front four is going to at least be better. Ed Oliver is going to be obviously a big boost to them. I don't know what Larry Ogunjobi and Michael Hoyt are going to give them. It's not like, you're talking about two all-pro caliber players are going to come in and completely transform the Bills' front line. But what I will say is this. If Larry Ogunjobi, if the bar is for Darian Mathis and Jordan Phillips and Zion Logue, or even TJ Sanders, the way he's looked this year, Larry Ogunjobi should be a significant upgrade. If you take Michael Hoyt and the measuring stick is going to be Javon Sullivan or Landon Jackson, who finally played in a game, if that's going to be the measuring stick for this year, then sure, those are going to be upgrades. That part of the defense should be better. If Shaq Thompson could stay healthy, and of course it's a big if. He's old, he's had 2 major injuries, but I'll tell you what, the way he's played the last 3 weeks, if he could stay healthy, I don't even think that's a big downgrade from Matt Milano. So I'm okay with that. But the secondary is a problem because I don't see anything changing there. I don't see anything changing there at all. Tre White's going to have to play better somehow, some way. The safeties are going to have to play better somehow, some way. And I just simply do not have confidence in that. I'm not saying I don't have confidence in the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills can put up, and they almost always do, put up 30 on anybody. And the Bills defense will find a way to get a couple of stops and win a game. But in terms of the secondary not giving up plays, and if you have to, on a night like this, where the offense is just bad and the defense has got to go win a game, the secondary is just not good enough to do that. And that's just the way it is. So the next game, I should say, Atlanta, 2-2, coming off a bye, so they're going to have that extra rest. This is going to be a big challenge next Monday night. Like, Stephon Diggs is great. You know what? So is Drake London. Drake London's great. Bijan Robinson is a great running back. Kyle Pitts is a dangerous tight end. Penix is improving at quarterback. So this is going to be a formidable offensive foe coming up here for the Buffalo Bills next week to try to not lose 2 in a row going into their bye. We'll talk about Atlanta tomorrow and much more. Again, positional grades and evaluations. I love doing this episode. Probably my favorite now of the week with Matt Warren from SB Nation. So that'll be a lot of fun. Big thank you to, again, everybody who watched, who's listened to the show. I do appreciate you. If you got any comments, make sure you subscribe, by the way. Hit that like button if you're watching on the video side. Leave a comment on YouTube. Tweet at me on the audio side. Make sure you're following on either Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcast. Thank you again. I'll be back. Brand new episode. Matt Warren joins me tomorrow.